Good evening, everybody. Sorry for the delay. We had a moment of technical difficulty, but we appreciate you joining us tonight. Before we get started, we are going to let our Spanish-speaking families know that we have an interpreter here and explain to them how to get interpretation. So if you'll go to the next slide.
Buenas tardes a todos. Estamos acá reunidos para, estamos acá reunidos, disculpen la dificultad tecnológica que hemos tenido y estamos ya con ustedes. Si ustedes necesitan interpretación en español, únanse a esta reunión a través del enlace de Zoom que pondrá en el chat, en la burbuja.
So I will put that into the chat right now. We ask if you are an English speaker that you stay in the YouTube live stream and only our Spanish-speaking families join us in the Zoom. And I'm putting that link in the chat right now.
Solo las familias que van a escuchar en español, entonces se quedan en el Zoom. Los demás pueden ir al YouTube Live.
We can go to the next slide.
Pasemos a la próxima diapositiva.
So Evelyn, if you want to I think this is kind of what you already said. We'll see if anybody joins, and then we can explain to them how to get the interpretation.
Okay. Let's see. Moment. Okay. Pues esta junta se conducirá en más de un idioma simultáneamente. Entonces, por favor, haga un clic, presione el icono de global abajo en el Zoom, en la ventana de Zoom, y escoja el idioma que desea escuchar. Si escoge Entonces, si escoge otro lenguaje, otro idioma que no sea inglés, va a tener la opción de escuchar en ese idioma, ya sea español, ya sea otro idioma. Entonces, va a poder tener la opción de escuchar en inglés al mismo tiempo, pero si no desea, entonces seleccione el icono que dice hacerlo mudo, el audio original. Estamos pidiendo por favor a todos los participantes que pongan mudo el volumen para que la interpretación sea leve.
Okay, Evelyn, I'm going to put you onto interpretation right now. We'll wait and see if that happens. So I won't be able to hear you anymore. If you need anything, just put the question into the chat.
Okay.
Okay. All right, for the rest of us, if you have questions throughout the presentation, we have two different ways that you can ask a question. You can either post it into the chat on YouTube, or I have created a Padlet that you can put your questions in, and I will put the link to the Padlet into the chat in just a second, as soon as I find it. And you can ask questions throughout the evening onto the Padlet, and we will answer those questions at the end of the presentation.
Okay, so with those technical pieces out of the way, I just want to give you a very warm welcome for coming tonight. I know many of you are probably trying to decide whether or not to have your students stay at ISB for next year, whether you're going to go back to the comprehensive high schools or elsewhere. And so we want to be able to take this opportunity to share with you a little bit about our high school program, so you would have a sense of what's in store for your kid, if and when they stay. So welcome. I'm Andrew Guilford. I'm the principal here at ISB. Honestly, one of my biggest regrets this year is that we're doing things in this manner as opposed to in person because of the pandemic. I've come to love sort of the community feel here at ISB, and allowing and having parents in the building as volunteers, but also part of these kinds of events, I think brings us all closer together. I'm glad with the technology to be able to do it, but I wish we were able to do this in person. Hopefully you'll find the information we share with you tonight informative and useful for you. And like Tracy was saying, we'll answer any questions you have at the end of the presentation. So once again, welcome. Thank you for coming.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Catherine Hirsch. I'm one of the school counselors at ISB. I work with students from 8th through 12th grade, and I work with the first part of the alphabet. So all students who have last names A through L. And me and the other counselor, who will introduce themselves in a second, actually went into 8th grade classrooms today talking about this information, so that we are happier here tonight and hope we can answer all your questions.
I am Tracy Meilenberg. I am the other 8 through 12 counselor at ISB, and I serve students whose last names are M through Z. I also have the great pleasure of being a 8th grade parent, so I am in the same shoes as all of you, as my 8th grader is also at ISB.
Hi, good evening. I am Gina Velasco, and I'm the MYP coordinator at ISB, and I help support teachers and students through the 6th through 10th grade MYP program.
And I don't see Logan on yet, but we've got a couple students here, which we're so delighted they're able to join us. Logan hopefully will jump in here in a second. We do have Maddie here. So Maddie, I'll let you go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Maddie. I'm a 10th grader here at ISB. Logan will be popping on soon. I know he's been having technical difficulties, but hopefully he will be here.
Any of you that have sort of heard me talk before have probably heard me say the mission, and I want to bring it up again because truly it is the ideas and the values that guide us in our work here at ISB. Our goal at ISB is to encourage students to learn through an international lens as thoughtful, compassionate world citizens. We actively embrace intellectual rigor, intercultural respect, service to our local and world communities, and the promise of a peaceful world. As many of you know, we just finished Culture Week last week, and there were so many activities that occurred during that week that I think truly embodied this. And while you're going to hear a lot about our programs in the high school, know that these are the values that underpin those, and it's students who embody these values that we hope to graduate here at the end of 12th grade. They were engaged in intellectual rigor as they got a chance to interview 2 Pulitzer Prize winning journalists, develop their compassionate, sense of compassion for the world as they listened to personal stories from an internationally renowned storyteller, and I think developed intercultural respect through the variety of activities that we did in the week. And so that mission, while often for many institutions, missions are just words on a piece of paper, I think for us at ISB, we truly embody it. And we do a lot of self-reflection and evaluation of our programs to ensure that what we are doing is in line with that mission.
So one of the things that I think, one of my favorite things about ISB, and why I think a lot of students do choose to do their high school time at ISB, is the collaboration in our community at ISB. Students are definitely connected to each other and the staff. I know this is the first school I've worked in where I know so many students, even students that are not on my caseload. I know that the admin knows students by name. teachers. We are constantly collaborating the faculty all together. So it definitely feels like, I think, a home for everybody. And that community is just so important. I think what makes students want to stay at ISB through 12th grade. There's common school-wide expectations, there's smooth transitions between classes and grade levels, and opportunities for students to have the same teacher more than once, which just helps build all of those relationships. So I think the collaboration and relationships are something that make ISB so strong. Mr. Guilford just talked about, we just had Culture Week. And also, since we are an IB school, the IB curriculum is all about really making our students global citizens, honoring their own cultures, but also learning about and supporting others' cultures. So we have intercultural sessions, presentations, we have an international focus. Sometimes we're hosting students from other countries, and also our Culture Week, where we are celebrating many different types of identities, having guest speakers, having our, we had our National World Language Honor Societies coming up with activities for students, and also service projects.
So one of the reasons I think that a lot of students stay at ISB is that they are interested in going to university and college after they graduate from high school. And so even though we work with students who are looking at all sorts of different career paths after high school, the vast majority of our students are looking at going to college. And so we really embrace that college going culture. We celebrate it. We give a lot of information. Catherine and I do a lot of one-on-one meetings with students about their college planning. And it's a really important part of ISB. This is one of my favorite slides. I'm always the person that does this slide because I really feel like it, that even though it's kind of a plain slide, it explains the value of the IB program. And so this shows college persistence for the students who returned from freshman to sophomore year after college or in college. Nationally, it's about, I think, 73% of students who move on from freshman to sophomore year. At ISB, it's anywhere from 97 to 99% of our students who graduate from ISB persist on to their sophomore year of college and do well. And that's something that we're really proud of. And even though the IB program can be rigorous at times, it is, in my opinion, the best college preparation that is available to high school students. And it also pays off. This is another number that I love, as I'm the person who usually tracks it in the spring. And as students are giving us their information on where they got accepted to college and what scholarships they got, this is the total for last year's class. So this is, I think we had about, I can't remember how big last year's class was. It's usually around 82 students, 85 students were in there, and $3.1 million in scholarships. So we're really proud of how our students do.
Okay, so I'm going to talk a little bit about the curriculum and courses that students take at ISB. This is our core pathways for each grade level at ISB. This can be a little overwhelming looking at this chart, but it's really just to give you an idea of the flow of classes through each of the course subjects, or what in the IB we talk about the different groups. Myself and Ms. Meilenberg went into all the 8th grade classrooms and talked about this today, so you can ask your students, because they certainly asked a lot of questions, which was awesome. And I think they all had a pretty good understanding of this after our presentation. But as you take a look, each grade, because we are an IB school, is pretty prescribed. There are certain classes that each student is taking that is getting them ready for 11th and 12th grade when they start the IB diploma program. So all of our students next year, which is, what we were talking to all the students about is 9th grade year. Everything that is in gray is kind of set in stone, that Lincoln Comp 9, global studies, STEM physics, and then their world language, math, and fine arts really depends on where they're currently at in 8th grade. And then they go on to 10th grade with certain subjects and then start the IB diploma program in 11th and 12th grade. Our classes in 9th and 10th grade are kind of, I talk about them as like IB light. They're getting students ready for the IB program. And we're an IB school. So all of our teachers are all about the IB curriculum and getting students prepared for that 11th and 12th grade year. So I'm going to talk about world languages and then math, because that's where it gets a little different for each student, depending on where they're at. This is where a lot of the 8th graders today had questions about, and it really depends on what level they are currently in that will determine next year, and also recommendations from teachers. So you can see with world language, some of our students who have been with us since 7th grade, they might have started a language and then go up all into the IB world language. But we definitely have students that are new to us in 9th grade or 8th graders that decide to maybe start a new language that might start in level 1. And there's still a pathway for those students to still be on track for the IB diploma program. So math is similar. We do have some 8th graders who are in AGS 1 now, and you can see the trajectory for each level. And we do have students that are on a higher level, but you will see no matter what math students are starting in 9th grade, they're going to be set up to take an IB math course their 11th and 12th grade year and still be on track for their IB diploma. I did talk to some of the 8th graders today. They can have conversations with their math teachers if they have questions about this. We do have some students who are taking AGS 1 who might be recommended to take AGS 1 again next year, and that still is putting them on that trajectory for the IB math. So with math and world language, if students have questions, they can reach out to me or Miss Meilenberg, because we know each student is at different levels depending on when they came to us.
So the next slide is the arts electives. So the students right now, the electives that we offer are arts, art 1 or 2, or if you've already taken, if some students who took art 1, 2 this year will take sculpture and digital imaging next year. And then they will go on to draw paint in 10th grade. We rotate what years those are offered. We have band. And there's various levels of bands that can be taken, and then concert choir. In the junior year, there are more elective choices, so they can stick with art, they can stick with music, they can go to chemistry, psychology, or take global politics, and those are all 2-year courses. I did see a question in the chat that said, will music be offered? And we offer what the students request when they forecast. And so this year we didn't have enough students to offer that request IB music to offer IB music to juniors. But the sophomores who are forecasting tomorrow will have a chance to forecast for music. And if we have enough, then we will run it. So it's always dependent on which courses the students choose to forecast for. Other courses, and these are required, some of these courses are required for graduation. So all 9th and 10th graders take a semester of PE and a semester of health to fulfill state requirements. And then we have some other options that students can take. Most students take a class called IB Seminar, which is a support class it's part study hall, part getting those academic skills that you need to be successful in school in general, but particularly in the IB program. In 10th grade, IB Seminar for a semester helps the students through the middle year, the personal project, which is a requirement to get your middle school IB middle years program certificate at the end of 10th grade. We also offer AVID, which I think is the next slide on AVID. We also offer an AVID elective, which is stands for Advancement via Individual Determination. And it is a class that we'd like to focus on students who will be the first in their family to go to college, not including older siblings, students who are from low income families, students who have backgrounds that or have barriers that might hinder them going to college. And so it's a program that helps them get the academic skills to be successful. So that is an option as well.
So I think one of the things that's unique about ISB and the IB program at ISB, because some of their high schools I know also offer IB courses, every student that is at ISB is a full IB student. And so what we mean by that is that as they enter their junior year, their course schedule is set up so they can earn the full IB diploma, as opposed to taking a few IB classes here and a few IB classes there, and then not taking IB classes for the rest of their schedule. All of our students are diploma track students. And so I would say every year in a typical year, and the pandemic has thrown it off a little bit, but in most years, by the time they come to spring of senior year, we're looking at about 95, 96% of our students who are taking the exams to qualify for the IB diploma. And of those students, nearly 95% of them actually earn that full diploma. That requires the support of the entire school community. And as a new principal here, this is my first year at ISB. One of the things I have been so incredibly impressed by is that every individual seems to have two jobs. They are a classroom teacher, often teaching within the IB diploma program or the MYP program, which I think we'll hear about here in a little bit. But they're also seem to be doing something else in order to make the full IB diploma program happen. I was at a meeting the other day where there was about 15 of us teachers and administrators that were in there, all who are volunteering to act as supervisors for the extended essay, which is one of the IB diploma program requirements. Many of those tasks that students do actually have to be marked or scored by their classroom teacher and somebody else. And so we have teachers who are doing double duty essentially in terms of scoring and grading in order to be able to meet those requirements. Having all of our staff with their head in the game, so to speak, really allows us to give the support and the encouragement and the structures so that every student can be successful. We believe that each student can in fact achieve that full IB diploma, and we support them along the way. While our classes aren't necessarily any smaller than the rest of the schools out there, our overall small school size allows us to get to know the kids in a way that we can support them in a way so that they can be successful as they go through this incredibly rigorous program. So while academic rigor and intellectual rigor is part of our mission, we play also. There's quite a few co-curricular activities that kids can be involved in. This is a huge step up from the middle school level. I know the middle school does have a few clubs, and there's some middle school groups that meet during the school days sometimes, but at the high school level, that really opens up tremendously. And it feels like most days on campus here, I look around an hour after the day is over, and there's still sort of groups of students that are leaving campus and leaving some of their clubs and some of the activities that they're part of. So we have a very rich club culture. And students, it's rare to find a student who's not involved in something, if not multiple things. And then in terms of the other kinds of activities that are really just about the community building, like any high school, we offer dances. We do spirit days. We have, for the high school, we have these things called coffee houses, which are quarterly, just after school kind of hang out. And students share their creativity with each other during that time. So we really have a pretty wonderful sense of celebration here at ISB. And having been in high schools a lot over the last 23 years or 25 years or so, it's fun to see on the spirit days not only the 6th and 7th graders dressing up for pajama day, say, but also the 11th and 12th graders dressing up for pajama day. We really have a student body who I think embraces those opportunities to have some fun and to let down their inhibitions a little bit and just allow themselves to be themselves within the school environment. Many of our students also participate in the OSAA activities and athletics that happen at the comprehensive high schools. So if you are, or your child is a student athlete, and you know you're going to want them doing soccer or volleyball or football, whatever sport that is, many of our students still do that. It's back at their comprehensive high schools. And because of our earlier schedule, students are getting out on time to be able to make it to practices and make it to games. And actually, it's a pretty significant number of our kids of our students are doing high school sports. And that holds true for some of the arts as well that are OSAA sponsored art activities. Our students can participate in those at their comprehensive high schools.
I just realized by one of the questions that I jumped over one of the important other classes that that can be offered for 9th graders, and that is advanced science research. And so this is the advanced science research class. 9th grade is the only time that class is offered. It is kind of like this science fair, times 10. So those kind of science fair activities that they have been doing in middle school, for the STEM Expo, it's like that. They are they create a science project that they will submit to the Beaverton Hillsborough STEM Expo. That's the name of it, I think. And the difference is that it's a course, and that's all that they focus on from the beginning of the year until the STEM Expo in February. And so they get lots of class time. They get to use equipment that they didn't get to use in middle school. They can do different kinds of projects, like some of the they aren't allowed to test on people in middle school, but in 9th grade they are allowed to do some of those psychosocial experiments. It's really fun for the kids who love the science fair. If you don't love the science fair, it's probably not the class for you. So it does take the place of IB seminar, and so it is another academic course. So it's important that students know that they won't have the time during the day to get work done and things like that. And I think Miss Yee is the teacher of the class, and I think she tries to give them a lot of in-class time to do the work. But there is some homework in that class, and it is a graded class, whereas IB seminar is pass fail. So I'm sorry I missed that one on the other slide. So we are kind of through the curriculum, and so we're going to get to questions in a second. One thing I want to point out is that no one has received their form yet. So we used to do forecasting via paper that we handed out to all the classes. Last year, because we were in distance learning, we switched to Google Form, and we like a Google Form except for one thing. It's really easy for a parent and a student to both submit the form, and we don't want that to happen. So we are hoping that you can talk with your 8th grader and say, are you going to turn in, actually the 8th grader is the one who should turn in the form, but you should talk about the classes that you're choosing. So you want to submit the form by next week, February 23rd. There are lots of options on there. The students can, if you're still just deciding or waiting to hear back from a private school, there's a place to say that. If you know for sure that you're going to attend your home high school, there's a place to say that as well. And there will be representatives from the comprehensive high schools coming to ISB to help those kids forecast on March 3rd. But we ask that everybody fills out our forecasting form with what they plan to do next year and the courses that they would choose if they were to stay at ISB.
Actually, before we jump into the questions here, Maddie, I'm kind of curious. Were you here as middle school as well? Have you been here since 6th grade?
I was, yes.
Okay, and so at the end of 8th grade, you made a decision to actually stay at ISB. And I'm assuming now that as you're approaching the end of 10th grade, you're going to stay with us the next couple of years. Can you speak to a little bit about just why you made that decision to stay? mean, you obviously had other options. You could have gone back to the comprehensive. Why did you stay after 8th grade? And why are you particularly excited about what's going to happen over the next 2 years?
Okay. I think one of the primary reasons I chose to stay stay for high school, I think, was also just kind of the tight-knit community that ISB has. I definitely have a lot of friends here, and I think that just community is really just awesome. Everyone is willing to support each other and help each other out, which I think is really cool. Also, that I also firmly believe that ISB really does set you up for success. I do hear from friends that I know who went to other comprehensive high schools. They did say that the skills that they learned at ISB kind of put them ahead of their other classes sometimes because of the academic rigor that ISB has. And not just the rigor, but also how the staff and the whole program really helps you to succeed in that academic rigor and to get those academic skills that you really need. And so those were kind of the major factors of why I wanted to stay.
Okay, thank you.
I'm going to ask the same question of Logan.
Is Logan on? I don't see him on here. So is he on? Logan,
Oh,
same thing.
I think he is.
Yeah, hello. Yeah, so my situation's a little different from Maddie. So I was new last year, so I did not have the middle school experience here. So I guess kind of from my perspective, from why I decided to come here, looking back on it, it was almost purely based on academics. I've heard a lot about it being like, Oregon's #1 school in terms of academics. And I've heard that it was a really rigorous school. So that was definitely reason #1 for me to come here. But I can say with certainty that ever since I've been here for the last 2 years, I was surprised with so much more. I love the community here. Academics are great. I feel myself challenged in every single class, which is awesome. I think the teachers really care about me, and I will definitely be here for the long run. I think that from what I've heard from other people, from juniors and seniors, and from teachers and staff, from what I've heard about it, I think that there's a lot that ISB offers that a lot of schools don't offer. Like, I think it's a really unique experience.
Thank you, Logan. I think, are we ready to start with some questions? Okay. Let's see. I don't know who wants to take this. Catherine, do you want to take this one? What is AP statistics and who takes that course?
So AP statistics, when we were on the math slide earlier, with math and world language, we know students are on all different levels, and especially if students are new to us or if students started wherever they started in their math level in middle school. So AP statistics is typically for students who don't fit our highest math track, and we are trying to give them another challenging course that they can take. So typically our highest math track is to get to our higher level IB math course. And that means that students are taking AGS 3 in 9th grade, moving to pre-calc 10th grade, and then go to that higher level track. We like having our students take pre-calc in 10th grade because the same teacher that teaches pre-calc teaches that higher level math and is really teaching that almost as a 3-year course because she's really preparing students to get ready for that HL class. So I would say if you have questions about your students' particular math level and where that will lead them, me and Ms. Meilenberg are happy to discuss that so that you can kind of have that clear trajectory. And it's all about where that student wants to be in 11th and 12th grade and what their plans are for after high school.
Mr. Guilford, do you want to answer the question? Is there a plan to have courses with an emphasis on computer programming in the high school program?
There's at this time, there's not. I think with where that would show up would be in the what we call sort of the group 6 and group 6 electives at the IB level. But we're already stretched pretty thin in terms of being able to run the courses that we do, and introducing a new one would probably result in some severe cuts to the other courses. we're limited, and it's one of the disadvantages of being a small school. I know we have some programming clubs. I think 2 different programming clubs that exist right now. We have an engineering club that exists right now. And so we have some teachers that are involved in that type of work, but it's not happening as part of the core curriculum.
And why don't you take the next question as well? Are current offerings consistent with what will be offered in the fall?
Yes, with the exception of, like Ms. Malibu was saying earlier, we did not have enough students who are wanting IB music. So none of our current juniors have IB music, but that's back on the transcripts or on the forecasting forms again. And so if we get enough students signing up for IB music, we'll be able to offer that. And actually that course has changed a little bit. And so I think will be more appealable in some ways to more students. It used to be in the past that you had to also be taking band or choir at the same time. And so students would have to fit that into what would have been an IB seminar period or a release period. But actually students can be engaged in music and of any type outside of school to be able to take the IB music during their junior year next year. So if you're an amazing pianist, but you aren't necessarily involved in band or choir at school, you can still do IB music.
All right. We had a personal question here. I'm not sure if someone wants to take it, or if it might be something that you want to talk to your counselor about. If your student is heavily involved in club sports, is there an exception to the PE class requirement?
There's not. I mean, I think we're required to follow the state of Oregon requirements for credits for graduation, and so students actually have to have PE class and health class here.
I'll answer this question. Someone asked, is there data for 2018 or later for the one slide for persistence? And there is. It's from the what is it called? The National Clearinghouse. And I actually tried to log on today, but I wasn't sure how to get onto it. So we'll have to update that slide. But I would be pretty confident saying that it would be consistent with what we've seen in the past.
I want to go back to that club sport question because it just occurred to me. While that wouldn't necessarily satisfy PE credits, what that would satisfy if the student stayed with that would be those CAS requirements that happen junior and senior year. So part of that full IB diploma is something called CAS, creativity, activity, service, which are individual hours that students have to do, but also a larger project. And some of the activities that students are engaged in on a regular basis anyway, as part of their lives, club sports, playing an instrument out of school, marathon runner, whatever that happens to be. A lot of those things can count for CAS.
Catherine, is pre-calc offered for dual credit?
No, I was just, I'm guessing they're for dual credit as in college credit.
Mm-hmm. I think so.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, it's just.
I just want to put in an explanation around that because I know a lot of high schools are moving more and more towards dual credit courses and trying to offer them. Our students who take pre-calculus, we are teaching them pre-calculus so they're set up to be incredibly successful at the higher level math class. And so one of the reasons why we have the same teacher who's teaching pre-calc and HL is that she can carve that out almost as a 3-year program. When you start doing dual crediting, what happens is you get limited by that syllabi having to be approved by the community college, which might not necessarily match what we need to do to have students to be successful in the IB diploma. So for us, not doing the dual credit is actually an advantage because we can better prepare our students for those upper level IB classes.
Let me see if we've the slide presentation actually will go out with the forecasting forms tomorrow. I have it scheduled to go out tomorrow at 3, so you'll be able to get this presentation then. And then I thought I saw one other one. Oh, Andrew, do you want to put that slide up that just says, someone's asking what are all the IB classes offered? Could you put up the slide, I can't remember what number it is, that has just all of the courses in there? And I can kind of talk about that too, that so when students get to junior and senior year, we offer the IB diploma program has 6 different groups. So the first group is language A, which is your language and literature class. Group B or group 2 is the acquired language course. So whatever language that they are choosing to take. Group 3 is the individuals and societies, which is a social studies course. And so that's the IB history class. Group 4 is the science class. So for junior and senior year, that is higher level biology. And then group 5 is your math class. So we're getting back there. Group 5 is your math class. And so that will be different for different students. Then group 6 is your elective. And so you can choose to take any of those classes, whether it's an fine or performing arts, or you can take global politics, an additional science class, which is chemistry, or you can take IB psychology. Let me see if they're.
I realized the other change that didn't show up on here. People asked if our course offerings next year are going to be a little bit different, and we're talking to some of the sophomores about this. If for students who are multilingual, they can often do self-taught language as their group 6. And that's a new thing for us. Before, that took the place of one of the languages we currently offered. So if you were a student who was fluent, let's say in Arabic, and you wanted to do self-taught Arabic, you could do that in lieu of the Spanish, Japanese, or Mandarin that we currently offer. Starting actually with this year's 10th graders, and so current 8th graders will be able to avail themselves of this in a few years. Students can stay both within the language they are taking at ISB, so they're in IB Spanish because they've been doing Spanish since middle school, but they can also do the self-taught Arabic that they might have the background from family history and from their own lives. And so actually we have a way for students to double up on languages if that's what they would prefer to do over one of those other group 6 classes.
All right. Then I think, Catherine, do you want to, which universities and majors do students primarily choose after graduation?
Well, I think I don't know, I've had students kind of across the board. I think something that's nice about ISB, because it is smaller, is that me and Ms. Meilenberg meet with every single junior at the end of their junior year and have a junior meeting that actually starts the college talk and talking about the application process and talking about the students' interests in what they want to study or possibly pursue for a career. So that's something we start the conversation pretty early on, and then help our juniors and seniors navigate the application process and finding schools that have the majors that they're looking for. But I mean, we definitely have a lot of students who go into the sciences, but then I've had students in political science, art, kind of across the board, language. I think that's what is so cool about all of our students. There are so many interests, and students really take the time to, and because they can meet with us one-on-one frequently, we really explore their interests and find schools that are a good match for them.
One other thing, we don't have a slide on this, but we probably should, is that I would say a lot of our students end up going to Oregon Public University because of the credit options there. I mean, many colleges and universities offer college credit for IB courses, but the Oregon Public Universities all agreed to offer credit to students who receive a score of a 4 or higher out of a 1 through 7 score. on their IB exams. And so we have many students who earn enough credit through the IB programs to not have to waive their freshman year courses, which is, you know, $36,000 worth of college credit. So that's pretty tempting to students, even though they get into other schools. If they have that opportunity to get that credit, they often will get it. But we have students go to all sorts of colleges and universities, not just the public schools, but it is pretty tempting to get that college credit for sure.
I think the key takeaway for me from that is that there is not a limitation as to what students can study after high school based upon staying at ISB and going through the IB diploma program. We don't see that preventing students from choosing any major they want to choose after high school as they go to college. And I think that, you know, I'm thinking about the list of colleges we have out in our foyer, hanging in one of those display cases there. There's a huge range of places that kids are going. Yeah, students are getting into some of the most competitive colleges without a doubt. And students are often choosing not to go there. I was surprised when I looked at that, how many students were choosing to go to smaller colleges. Maybe because they've just spent 4 years in a small environment and they really love it. And they want to carry on with that. And I think that, although many of those smaller colleges are quite competitive. And so seeing students be able to get in there. And you have students who chose to stay in Oregon. You have students who choose to go to community college. It seems like every year, right, there's some students who choose to go to an art or design school. So just the takeaway is I don't think students are limited by the program here in terms of what their next steps are after ISB.
Gina, I'm going to give you a question, but I don't know if you know the answer to it. Do you know how much the IB exams cost? I can't remember off the top of my head.
Ooh, I can't either. I could send a text real quick and maybe find out, but I don't know that answer.
I can't remember. Do you remember, Andrew?
I don't know off the top of my head, but because the full diploma students are taking IB tests in a whole variety of areas, it's not cheap. It's several $100s at least. We try to provide that information pretty upfront about that starting in junior year, so families have a sense of that. Students who qualify for free and reduced lunch, there's discounted costs for them on those tests. And then we also have a small internal scholarship fund that we can make use of when students might not qualify for free reduced lunch, but still are needing assistance in that. I haven't seen the kind of the philosophy, the underlying philosophy at ISB is we're going to make it happen. And it's really moving when I think about what our staff and our full staff does here to make sure that students have success and students have access to the things that they need to have access for. Many students want to leave ISB because they can't be invisible. And that's maybe the downside. But because those students are so visible here, we make it work for them. And that's important for us to be able to do that for each and every one of them.
And I think just to piggyback on that, just a reminder, we do have a 10th grade parent night where as students are transitioning and getting ready for the IB diploma program, we talk about the full IB diploma program. And as students get closer, kind of go more in depth into that. So that's not something you have to have all figured out tonight to deciding for 9th grade.
Absolutely. Catherine, I have one more question for you. If a student wanted to take, this is related to the diploma program. Yeah. If a student wanted to take chemistry, psychology, or global politics, what would they have to give up?
Oh, what they would have to give? Well, those are all, they wouldn't.
Yeah, they don't have to give anything else.
That was a trick question, Ms. Meilenberg.
Sorry. Yeah, you don't have to give anything up. Those courses are part of the group 6 option. So, I mean, they can't take all 3, but they can choose which one of those that they want to take. Okay, I think someone said, can the school provide a list of universities that offer the IB college credits? And you can, I believe that's on the IBO website. I'll try to find that, and I can get that out. And
it seems like my sense of is that the numbers of universities that are accepting IB scores is increasing. I think there's been a trend within the United States for students of students taking the IB diploma program. There's increased numbers every year. And so more and more universities are recognizing that and accepting those as credits.
I think I'll give it just another second, but I think that is all of the questions. Let me kind of cruise through and make sure I got them all.
And I think something Ms. Meilenberg and I stressed in all of our presentations to 8th graders today was that we support whatever decision an 8th grader is making. And if you and your family have any questions about any path, we are here to help. We want to make sure that you have a smooth transition no matter where you go. So please don't hesitate, even if you are on the fence about staying at ISB and have some questions about some other paths, we're happy to answer those questions too.
Absolutely. So just to recap, the link to the form for forecasting will go out tomorrow at 3 o'clock. And it will include a link to tonight's presentation and a link to the forecasting, and that is due by next week. If your students have any questions, or if you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out to Catherine or I and set up an appointment or send an email. We're happy to answer any questions about anything. So I think, let me check one more time. Oh, we had this question earlier. Can a student take AP Stats and Advanced Algebra in 9th grade? Do you want to take that, Catherine?
Advanced Algebra and what was
AP
it?
Stats.
Oh, AP Stats. No, we would recommend whatever is kind of up next on their trajectory. Really, that AP Stats is offered for students where we don't have that pathway. But again, if you have questions about your student's specific pathway, we can definitely talk about that.
Okay, I think that is it. So thank you so much for joining us tonight. And we look forward to seeing your students at high school next year.
Thank you so much. Appreciate you all being here.
I have a quick question. I'm sorry,
Yes?
I have a quick question. I have my children over here.
Okay.
I'm a mother of 7 children, but I have a question. One of my children goes over there. He's in 8th grade. So I don't need to do anything, right, for the 9th grade? Or do I have to do something?
Oh, that's a good question. So no, you don't need to do anything. The students who are at ISB and want to continue at ISB don't need to do anything to continue on to 9th grade. They can stay as long as they want to till graduation. We do kick them out when they graduate, but until then they can stay.
So all they have to do is fill out the forecasting form.
Oh, thank you so much, because I just wonder, because it's the first year that he's been there. He's very happy. He doesn't want to move out. So,
Oh, good. Oh, I'm so
that's
glad.
what I was hoping. I hope they don't have to move out or something.
All right. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you so much. He's very happy, and thank you for all your support. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a great evening.
Thank you.